nginibingelelane nonke ebaya emsebenzini kusasa. I know exactly how you're feeling right now. Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Nothando and I make videos on construction, lifestyle and travel. So, we all know that Sunday feeling. When Sunday turns into Monday and all the work you left undone on Friday slowly eats away at your soul. On today's video, we are going to talk about the Sunday blues. If you're interested, if you're going through it right now, stay tuned. In this video, I'll be sharing how you can manage it better. Disclaimer, I'm not a psychologist. This video is not meant to diagnose or treat anxiety as stress. I encourage you to please contact a psychologist if you suspect you might have anxiety. Thanks, bye. I went through a few articles and Kalasibaningi, it's not just you, we all go through it. While I was reading through these articles, I realized that there's two terms that we so comfortably use interchangeably: stress and anxiety. And I'd like to go through the definitions so that you know what you're dealing with when I go through this list. Let's get on to it. Stress is a response to direct external stimuli that goes away when you tackle the problem. If you feel intense relief after finishing the client pitch, that's workplace stress saying goodbye. Anxiety is impressively self-sufficient. It can happily exist all on its own. You feel constant, residual dread when thinking about your workplace or employer. Then that's workplace anxiety, stubbornly refusing to take a day off. Now that we've gone through the definitions and you know that anxiety is more self-reliant, a strong, independent woman that stays with you. I personally, I wouldn't say I've lived with anxiety, but I had workplace anxiety, like literally. Even after completing a task, you still feel the stress, or you know that there's more coming and it's like... So every time before I get up to go to work, I would have to convince myself. It feels like having two jobs, literally. You first need to convince yourself that you need to do this, why you need to do this, why you're doing this. You go through the list of it, like you convince yourself. And then after that, you then have to actually do the stuff that you just convinced yourself to do and then go to work. This can have an impact on your productivity. Because when you get to actually do the work, you're already so tired from convincing yourself that you need to actually be doing this. And when your productivity is then impaired, anxiety then comes back because you're not as productive as you'd like to be. So it's like now a vicious cycle of, because you're anxious, you're not productive. And because you're not productive, now you're anxious. Because you're anxious, you're not productive. And because you're not productive, you're anxious. And it's like a whole wheel that keeps turning and turning and turning and turning and turning and turning. In this list, I'm going to give you a few tips in which you can try use to maybe stop the cycle of this wheel. Be mindful. A lot of times we do things without being focused. Literally, sometimes when you're driving, you forget that you're actually driving. When you're eating, you're like, oh, I'm done eating. Wow. Well, I didn't even see where that went. When you're doing the work, do the work. Focus on it, especially if you're in the construction industry. You probably are because you're here. As a QS, you need to know exactly what's happening. It's high pressure. You miss that 0.3 point whatever. That could be $500,000 at the end of the at the end of the month or end of the project. So be mindful and do the work in the moment. Be focused. This will help increase your accuracy. It will also help you remember what you actually did, because when you're doing things on pilot mode, you can, one, make mistakes, and two, not be able to explain what you did. So every time you're working, kind of train your brain to be like, you are doing this. This is what you're doing. Don't let your brain zone out. Train it to be focused on the task at hand. Do not calm down. Because anxiety is an independent feeling, not depending on the stress or whatever, you naturally or would be told to take a break, breathe, fight it. But contrary to popular belief, it is suggested by scientists that you try to convert anxiety into excitement. I don't know how practical that is, but you can try use the surge of anxiousness to actually start completing the project. And how you can do that is maybe plan your task. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm anxious, I'm worried, I have so much to do. Fine, let me do this portion of it. After doing this portion, I'll do this portion. After doing this portion, I'll do this portion. That way, you do not waste your time trying to fight it, because it's inevitable. Sometimes it will grip you. Whether you try to fight it or not, it will remain there. So rather use that little surge of debilitating energy to try and do something, and even if it means doing the smaller things around the big task that you are required to do. Reduce decision overload. And this means when you are presented with choices, your ability to make the decision can get a little bit impaired or overwhelmed. So let's say in the morning you've got 4 different colored toothbrushes, and you then give yourself the option. You're like, oh, which toothbrush should I use today? And then what clothes should I wear today? What should I pack for lunch today? When you then get to work, you have already used up so much of your brain capacity to make these tiny decisions that should be mindless. Like, you shouldn't be stressing so much about whether to wear flats, heels, shoes, or whether to use a blue or yellow or orange toothbrush. So how you can minimize this is pre-planning your days, your weeks, or even your months, depending on how organized you are. This way, when you wake up in the morning, you already have your outfit, you already have your lunch packed, you already have which toothbrush you're using, you already know how are you styling your hair. Are you wearing a head wrap? Are you going head wrapless? Whatever. This then makes you reserve this energy for the actual task that you need to do. This is where minimalism actually sounds like a good idea, because minimalists literally have the same outfits. So they'll probably have like 5 black shirts, 5 blue jeans, and that's literally what they wear. So that then takes away the options of like, what am I going to wear? So in order to make it better for yourself, you can then try to minimize the choices that you have. Monitor your productivity fluctuations. This is an easy way to actually find the cause of your anxiety. Usually when you're not being as productive, try to figure out what's happening, why. It could be a certain task that you don't really understand, and you now try to avoid it by doing all these other things. Your brain starts going up and down, trying to figure out what to do, touching on this, not finishing this, doing that, not finishing that, starting different mini projects just because you're avoiding this one thing. And as soon as you monitor your productivity levels, then you'll see when they dip. You can then find the cause of it. Maybe it's something that makes you really nervous. Maybe you need to do some research on that specific topic before you tackle the task. Maybe you need to ask a bit more questions around what the task entails. And as soon as you get the clarity, your anxiety might actually go away, or your stress, depending on what it is. And this is a good way to also monitor when and what and how, when you need to like kick in the whole, let me switch this to excitement. Let's not avoid it. Let's just do what we need to do. Go off the grid. I feel like I've said this in my other video, but usually we millennials, our generation, is addicted to our phones. Literally, sometimes you touch your phone without even realizing. You can set a timer, yes, but sometimes your brain doesn't even realize that that's what you're doing. So if you have an app, it can easily pop up and say, hey. So I've got an app called Forest, and that's because I like plants and trees, whatever. And every time I'll set it like for 45 minutes that I should not use my phone. And every time I pick up my phone without even thinking, the app is going to pop up and say, oh, Nothando, are you sure you want to kill this little tree that you just planted? Are you sure about that? And apparently there's other apps, depending on what you like. Apparently there's cats or like animals or puppies, whatever. I don't know. But I've got Forest app, and that kind of helps me stay away from my phone, unplug, and focus on the work that I actually need to do. Ask for feedback or speak up. Usually the cause of anxiety is because you don't know what to do, or you don't know who and how it is expected to be presented. So when you ask for feedback or ask for clarity, this can take away almost like half your anxiety. This can be tricky, I do understand, because sometimes you don't want to seem stupid. They gave you the task because they think that you know what the task is all about. And if you're unclear, what is the point of just sitting there and wasting all this time when you could ask? So yeah, ask. I know this is hard, but ask. The sooner you ask, the sooner you can continue with the task. Rather that than, going through the stress and ending up doing actually the wrong thing anyway. Don't be hard on yourself. Usually we measure our self-worth about what we did, or about what we did for the day, literally. So you check your list and you're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't do A, B, C, and D. And sometimes it's literally, not that you were incapable of doing A, C, D, E. It's probably because A, B, and D actually take that much time to do. And now that you know better, you probably do better. And so don't be hard on yourself. Focus more on what you have done than what you didn't do. And then what you didn't do, you can always do tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. One thing that I've learned about working with umsebenzi awupheli. Awupheli, noma usuqedile, awupheli, like it's not going to end. So what you did today is great, and if you can improve on your speed, and if you can improve on your whatever you need to do or work on, then focus on that. Work within your limits. Usually we work over time because we feel like, oh my gosh, I had this long list, like I needed to do A, B, C, D, and E, but I only did A, B. Like now I'm just going to spend my time at home trying to do C, D, E, E, E. Next thing, you're sleeping at 1 a.m. When you have to wake up in the morning, you're groggy, so you're not as productive. So you're anxious that you were not as productive as you wanted to be. Now you're back on the wheel. So work within the times that you have. I know this is very tricky. The more and more you teach yourself or train your brain to work within those limits, the more your productivity will be increased. And when you look forward to doing something else after work, taking a break, spending time with family, exercising, sleeping early, and being rested for tomorrow so that you're productive within the time that is given to you. So try work on that. I know it's not easy, especially for people who are working from home. Those lines are completely blurred, but you need to learn how to do this, guys. You are replaceable, just so you know. So you need to take care of yourself so that you can actually be good at what you do. Lastly, practice good habits. Remember, a healthier you is a more productive you, and that's a less anxious you. Tongue twisters. That's a less anxious you. And this means that donking off at 5, getting some exercise in, eating healthy, no caffeine after 2, because caffeine, actually, fun fact, caffeine, I think you know this though, like it pumps up your adrenaline, like you've got a lot of energy and it pumps you up. So if you're anxious, it why am I trying to use big words? It exaggerates, it multiplies the feeling of anxiousness. Now you can't even sleep because you're thinking about this thing, and then you're thinking about it even faster because you had coffee after 2 p.m. So I know that we need coffee. A lot of us function on caffeine. I think you should just start monitoring what you're eating in order to be a healthier version of yourself. In conclusion, if you have tried all these tips, and you have worked on them, and you have practiced them, and you are still anxious, and you are still uneasy, and you are still stressed, you might need to actually talk to a career guidance counselor. And this means going to a psychologist that specifically works with careers. You might be doing the wrong job, you might be in the wrong industry, you might be misaligned. Maybe you're in the right industry, but you're misaligned in what you're doing within that industry. And you need to find something that will align your strengths, that will align with what you actually enjoy, and that will help you excel within the field that you're in. This is very important. Even the slightly misaligned in what you're doing, it can cause more stress than something that you actually like doing would. Do you understand me? So if you have tried everything, if you have slept early, worked out, exercised, and you still have that little pain here, like it's like a knot on the side of your shoulder, like, yo, it hurts. So it's like when you have this knot constantly, whether you're at work or every time you just think of work, your heart sinks and that pain is here, and you get a little bit sweaty and go into like a depressed type of mode, then you are most likely not in what you're supposed to be doing. But before you confirm this, you need to speak to a career guidance counselor, and they can help you find what you can be doing using what you already have right now. Whew, that was a mouthful. Okay guys, I hope that this video is helpful and you will try out these tips, especially since the week is starting tomorrow. If you're going to watch this video later on, I don't know what day it's going to be. And yeah, all the best. You are great. You're doing great, sweetie. And I'm very proud of you. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video. See you later in another video. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. Mwah. There's a fly and it's irritating. Shh. Oh. Shh. I hate flies so much. Oh my gosh, let me go get some dew. Be a YouTuber, they said. That's fine, they said. You know what's annoying? When a fly is bothering you, nah, and then you find the doom to doom it, it disappears. It's like it knows. I'll put it right here. I'm waiting for you.